If you look in the mirror and feel like your backside has completely flattened out or disappeared over the last decade, you're dealing with a very specific physiological phenomenon that walking simply cannot fix. While walking is fantastic for your heart and your circulation, mechanically speaking, it does not require your gluteus maximus to fully contract or lengthen. In fact, most people over 60 utilize a shuffle pattern, where they rely almost entirely on their hip flexors and momentum, leaving the glute muscles completely dormant. To rebuild that muscle, to make it fuller and stronger, we have to stop treating the glutes like endurance muscles and start treating them like the powerhouses they are designed to be. The exercise strategy we are going to cover today works because it forces a peak contraction, a level of tension that walking never provides. And this specific tension is the only language your muscles understand when the goal is growth and restoration. We need to start by understanding why the glute muscles atrophy or shrink faster than almost any other muscle group as we age. It is a condition often referred to as gluteal amnesia. Essentially, your brain forgets how to activate these muscles because sitting creates a long-term stretch that inhibits the nerve signal, and walking rarely requires more than 20% of your glutes' maximum capacity. To get that full look back, and more importantly, the stability that prevents falls, we have to reintroduce a load that triggers type 2 muscle fibers. These are the fast twitch fibers responsible for size and shape. Walking primarily uses type 1 slow twitch endurance fibers, which are lean and thin. If you want fullness, you have to target the type 2 fibers. And the only way to do that is through isolation and time under tension. This is why you can walk 5 miles a day and still have a flat, weak rear end. We're going to change that signal today by focusing on the hip bridge, but not the way you have seen it done in generic fitness videos. We are going to deconstruct it into a muscle-building protocol specifically for the senior body. Before we get into the mechanics, I want you to do something for me right now. If you are serious about transforming your body and maintaining your independence as you age, please hit that subscribe button. We are building a community here that values science over trends, and I want you to be part of this strength journey. Also, drop a comment below and tell me, do you suffer from lower back pain or knee pain? Paradoxically, that pain is usually the biggest sign that your glutes have shut off, and answering that helps me tailor future videos to your specific needs. Now, let's look at the primary movement. The standard advice is to just lift your hips, but for a senior wanting muscle growth, that advice is useless. To build the muscle, we need to master the posterior pelvic tilt. Lie on your back with your knees bent and feet flat on the floor. Before you lift even an inch, I want you to imagine you are trying to crush a grape placed under the small of your back. You are rotating your hips so your lower back flattens completely against the floor. This tiny, invisible movement is the secret. It disengages your lower back muscles and forces the glutes to take the load. If you lift your hips without doing this first, you're just exercising your spine, which leads to pain. Once that back is flat, you're going to drive through your heels, not your toes. If you push through your toes, you use your quads, the front of your thighs. We want the back. Lift your toes off the ground inside your shoes if you have to. Drive the heels down and curl your tailbone up toward the ceiling. As you rise, do not aim for height. This is the biggest mistake people make. They arch their back to get their hips as high as possible. We don't care about height. We care about the lockout. You want to stop at the point where your body forms a straight line from your knees to your shoulders. And right there at the top, you need to squeeze as hard as you possibly can. I mean an ugly, shaking squeeze. You need to hold that tension for a count of 3. 1, 2, 3. That squeezing sensation is the blood rushing into the muscle. It is the neurological signal waking up those dormant fibers. If you don't feel a cramp-like sensation in the glutes, you aren't squeezing hard enough, or your hip flexors are too tight. If you feel it in your hamstrings, the back of your legs, instead of your glutes, move your feet closer to your body. This is a game of millimeters. Adjust your feet until the tension is purely in the backside. This holding pattern, the isometric hold, is superior to walking because it eliminates momentum. When you walk, you swing. When you bridge and hold, you force the muscle to sustain its own weight against gravity. For someone over 60, this is the safest way to induce hypertrophy because there is no heavy weight on your spine, no risk of falling over, and no impact on your knees. It is pure, concentrated muscle stimulation. I want you to perform 10 repetitions, but each repetition must have that 3-second hard squeeze at the top. The lowering phase, or the eccentric phase, should take another 3 seconds. Do not just flop down. Resist gravity on the way down. That slow lowering phase is actually where the most muscle tissue damage occurs. And remember, damage is good here. It's micro-tearing that signals the body to repair the tissue thicker and stronger than before. Let's talk about frequency and volume, because this is where the better than walking concept really shines.